streaming live on YouTube on this wonderful Super Bowl Sunday night. I'm gonna put my I put the thing in the case, and I'm gonna press play on Rescue 911. That's just the ending to the previous episode.
This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened.
Now, Rescue 911 on True Crime Justice Network.
Grand Island, Nebraska is a peaceful Midwestern farming town where fields of wheat and corn fill the landscape. It's a small, tight-knit community where most people tend to know and trust one another. Early on the morning of September 21st, 1989, Randy McDonald was driving along a road near his farm.
I could see up ahead of me this car was in the ditch. As I got up there, I stopped. You guys need some help or something?
Oh, we rolled her.
This man and a woman were standing there, and she looked awful pale and white and nervous. She just asked me if I'd pull them out. And if I'd have known something was going on, I would have liked to tried to help her out.
What's the problem? I'm just stabbed to death.
The call came into dispatcher Charlene Rathjen at 8:32 a.m.
You're stabbed? Yeah. What? You need an ambulance? All right, is there somebody there? No, I'll go get it out to the wedding test. Oh, Lord. Well, ma'am, you gotta calm down now a bit here. And tell me if you can figure out where you're at. Okay. Oh, my God. Okay, just calm down a bit here.
We do not have an enhanced 911 system. If we had had enhanced 911, we would have been able to tell immediately where she was.
Okay, what's your name first? Rebecca? Who stabbed you, Rebecca? Brad Geiger?
I knew I had to try and keep her calm till we got somebody there, because the more agitated she got, the more she was going to bleed.
Okay, you look around and see if you can find an envelope. Oh, there's something. It's a 03 by front.
Because the address was a rural route box number, it could still take hours to find the house. So dispatcher Kathy Bruckner called the post office to try to get more specific directions.
You can tell you have a feeling for calls when they come in. You know, I could tell from Charlene's reaction that this was heavy duty.
Where are you stabbed at? Where are you hurt at? I have both in my hand because I tried to stop him from getting in my throat. Okay. And are you stabbed anywhere else? Are you bleeding? No, I don't know. I'm bleeding. I have to let her take throat too. I'm about to pass out. Okay. Just settle down. Are you sitting down? Yeah. Okay. Can you call somebody for me? Well, we're going to get somebody out there as soon as we figure out how to get out there. Okay. Do you have asthma? No. I think you got my throat. Hurry. You gotta hurry, but it goes out. Okay, Rebecca? Yeah. Okay, just calm down, okay? Just calm down. Oh, hurry, please.
My worst fear was that I wasn't going to be able to figure out where she was, and that I wasn't going to get anybody going to talk to her because there was a feeling that as the call progressed, I thought she was going to die before they got there.
How long have you been out there with her? I've been at 20 till 8. 20 till 8? After he did this, you saw him ran? Yeah. I gotta go. No, don't hang up the phone.
She just got weaker and weaker and weaker, and her breathing got more difficult. But you can't let them just give up. You can't let them hang up.
When we continue,
We came into the field at a very low level. We were intentionally flying low, hoping that we could see this subject in these cornrows.
stuffed up. This is cake.
Gobble.
Untouchable.
Of life alert.
Then stay.
So this is Rescue 911, date rape, and freezer time.
I work with him, and he's a really nice guy. I get him right to work all the
See,
time.
on the logo it says Justice Network, but it's really True Crime Network.
I'm over here by your house, they come get me and take me to my house. And they did, and they took me at his house at Nice Point.
But she just started laying it out, and I think she was so scared she had to tell somebody. And I think Rebecca just wanted somebody to know in case something happened to her before she got help. That somebody was going to know who did this to her.
I was driving about 55 on the Gum Road, and the gum was real quick. And I lost control of the car, and it rolled a couple times, and it did. He got out of the car, and he pulled out his knife. After it rolled on the side of the car went inside. Then I closed the window and locked the doors. Then he punched in the window and tried to stab me, and then the guy came and pulled out. And who was the guy that came that pulled you out? I don't know. But I'm not familiar with this area now. No. Is that him? No, just a minute. This is a large two-story white house. It is two-story. I think so. Is there a fence at the gate? Yeah, big fence, the gate, big yard. For a big fence at the gate, and there's 13 dogs barking, I can hear it. My hand is starting to hurt a lot now. Okay, honey, they should be there.
Once she knew there was somebody coming, well, then that's when she settled down, and the longer she talked, the less labored her breathing got.
Wait, here's somebody. Okay, I hope it's not Brad. No. Just settle down. You shouldn't be talking about the rape business, okay? You tell them now, right, Rebecca?
When you know they're there, it's always a big relief, because then I don't have to be calm anymore. And if I want to feel bad, I can.
Paramedic Jim Bedoric and his partner treated Rebecca at the scene.
She was very frightened, and rightfully so. She was pretty much covered with blood from head to toe.
Can you breathe all right? Okay,
It
everything.
was apparent from the wounds that she had on her hands that she was fending off blows and fighting to protect herself. She was fighting for her life. Rape is a violent crime, it's not a sexual crime. And, you know, the graphic illustration of it's what really made the impact on me.
The young woman was later questioned by Grand Island Police Detective Rick Ressel.
After the sexual assault, he wanted Rebecca to drive him to a location where he had placed some of his belongings. At least that's what he said. They drove to a location where a driveway went into a cornfield, and she realized that there probably is not any belongings there and that Geiger wants to kill her. Rebecca grabbed keys out of the car. Geiger caught up with her and grabbed a hold of her, and he started to slash her with a knife. During the struggle, she lost the car keys somewhere. He grabbed her hair, threw her onto the ground, and Rebecca grabbed the blade of the knife and bent the blade of the knife with her bare hand. During the attack, he attempted to straighten the blade, and Rebecca was able to break away from him and started running away.
The only thing I could think about was getting help. I just knew I had to get away from him. I knew I had to run to the farmhouse.
She started yelling for help. However, no one was at home. The doors were locked, so she breaks out a window and manages to get into the house. It's just, I'm really impressed by her strong will and desire to live. Many, many people would have just laid down and died under the same circumstances.
The young victim was rushed to the nearest hospital with 21 stab wounds as State Patrol officers, the National Guard, and sheriff's deputies from 3 counties began a massive manhunt. After 5 hours, a tip from a caller led investigators, including Patrol Sergeant Gary Esser, to a cornfield not far from the house where the victim had been found.
In this particular case, the cover was so heavy that if you would have been 3 foot into this cornfield, you probably couldn't have seen 3 foot. At one point, I could see the prop wash lifting the corn leaves and so forth. They were actually suspended in the air. And under this, I could see this subject lying in one of the rows. I was yelling at people with my portable radio that he was directly under us. The officers on the ground then started moving him.
After 6 hours of searching, the manhunt was finally over. The suspect later pleaded guilty to rape and attempted second-degree murder and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. In the 2 years since the attack, the physical wounds have completely healed. Just last week, Rebecca was engaged to be married.
The hardest part of recovery was mental. There was a lot I had to work through. But it was just the will to survive and the fact that I was only 20, I hadn't gotten married, I had a whole life in front of me. And it was just a very, very strong will to survive. I just had to. You know, nobody was dying.
Recently, Rebecca got a chance to meet the 911 dispatchers who helped save her life.
Hi, Charlene. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca Smith. I've been meeting for so long. It was wonderful meeting Charlene and Kathy. I wanted to meet them for a long time. They're just sweet as I ever thought they were. This is Kathy.
Most of the time, people forget about us in Target. So it was quite a treat to get to meet somebody that we helped. I was glad I was able to. I was glad she was able to walk down them stairs and come in and talk to us. I really was.
I told myself I wasn't either.
Seeing her today made me go back to that day and just know that it could have been a whole lot worse. It could have turned out just horribly. And just to think, looking at her today, thinking, well, hey, this all turned out okay. You know, she's okay. And that's the most important thing, that she's okay.
She was lifeline. She wasn't even there for me to hug or anything. She just saved my life.
Next.
When officers respond to domestic calls, generally they're considered the most dangerous calls that we can respond to. You never know what waits behind the door.
Uh-oh. Straight.
They will start watching TV and I'm not.
On the evening of August 16th, 1991, in Altoona, Pennsylvania, 15-year-old Dwayne Della was babysitting his 2-year-old niece, Melissa.
He was watching TV, and then I walked into the kitchen to get some ice cream. I opened the freezer door. I reached into the back, then, I sort of stuck my tongue out, and it got stuck by accident. I tried, breathing hot air on trying to melt the ice, but it didn't work. And then I tried using my fingernails to, chip the ice away, but that didn't work either. I told Melissa to get me the phone. And then I called 911.
The watch commander at the police station, Sergeant John Carnicello, was not a dispatcher, but he happened to be passing by as the call came in.
They were in serious trouble. I thought his female was being beat up or be stabbed or even worse. My first inclination was get the call traced and get help to the person.
What's your address?
I told the corporal that we had a domestic situation, that he should start to roll on the call, and I would give him the address once I got it.
What's your address?
It wasn't painful, it was just frustrating because I kept trying to tell him the address, then he couldn't hear what I was saying, and he didn't know what was wrong with me.
I can understand the help for it. Okay, what's your first name? Again, and softer. Diane. Let's try your address again. I'm not having any luck with your name.
At that point in time, the 911 trace was completed, and I asked the person if that was the address that they were at.
The address was passed to Corporal Jeffrey Auger.
When officers respond to domestic calls, generally they're considered the most dangerous calls that we can respond to. You never know what waits behind the door when you answer a domestic call.
Okay, we have the police on the way. You need an ambulance?
Now we knew where the person was, we needed to know what the problem was. When we're going possibly into a hostile environment, we could be going into a situation where there could be weapon play.
What's the problem? Your tongue is stuck to the freezer. Your tongue is stuck in the freezer. Well, how old are you? You're 15. And what's your problem now exactly? Now you can talk about it. I know you can't talk. Your tongue is stuck to the freezer.
Well, it was a sort of a revelation to me. I thought, boy, this was a crazy call.
On to the police!
Scott Cayley was the first officer on the scene.
On to the police!
I didn't get any response, so I walked down off the stoop and I went around to a first story window and looked inside. And I really didn't know what to think at that point. And the little girl came over at that point because she heard me jiggling the doorknob and she tried to unlock the door.
That's good, unlock it, honey. Try to unlock it. Come on now.
Officer Gerald McCauley was the next to arrive.
Come on, you go ahead.
Corporal Auger soon joined the other officers trying to get in.
We decided to enter from the rear, but these are adjoining row houses and there's no entry to the backyard. So myself and Officer McCauley went next door and ran through the house. We came around the corner and there was a kid with his face frozen to the freezer, like a moon pot. There was a mass of frozen blood and his tongue was stuck to that. It's not something that you're taught at the academy or that's in the first aid manuals. So we did what we thought was right and began getting glasses of warm water from the tap and pouring them over the boy's tongue and mouth.
At which point, the young man said, with his tongue stuck there, "That's hot water."
It was like a circus. We went from where we thought we were going to be going into a violent domestic call. We went in there and broke the doors down and did damage to the house to get in. And the only way we can figure to help them out is to throw water on them. And we practically drowned them trying to rescue them.
When paramedic Jim Effinger and his partner arrived, they determined the extent of Dwayne's injury.
Your mouth. Now, once you relax, and we took the towel from him and inspected the tongue, and basically what we saw was just a small reddened area with a small cut on the tongue, about 1/4 of an inch. I just want to take the pulse. Dwayne was a lucky kid. He could have lost his tongue from severe frostbite. He wouldn't be able to talk, would not be able to swallow. He couldn't chew properly, so that would have been a real tragedy.
The toughest part was waiting for the police to come because I didn't ever think I was gonna get my tongue off the freezer. I could move around a little bit, but I couldn't move real far because tongue's not that long.
The city of Altoona made 2-year-old Melissa Garland an honorary police officer in recognition of the crucial assistance she gave her uncle that night.
I think Melissa's a real hero. If she hadn't picked up that phone and handed it to him, he couldn't have made that phone call. We couldn't have traced it. And, the neighbors didn't know what was going on because he wasn't yelling loud enough because his tongue was frozen.
When I'm older, I'll probably think about this and laugh because it doesn't happen to that many people. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's never to stick your tongue out when you're reaching into the freezer.
Do loose batteries clutter? Up your
Everything was fine, thought everything was good.
Rich Steve.
I'm just deleting Reba. Let's see, I'll delete the Big Bang Theory.
See you later.
I don't put the Big Bang Theory on YouTube because I don't want to get a copyright strike.
Study online.
See, so I'm putting Animal Rescue on here, Dog Tales, and Rescue 911 in this live stream.
More time.
Car, please.
Okay, so this is Cincinnati Neonator Docu and
This
6-year-old
program
hero.
contains true stories
High
of
risk
rescues.
infants,
All of the
women
911
loses
calls you will hear are real.
consciousness
Whenever possible, the actual
after
people
rear-end
involved
collision.
have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened.
The shameful truth that our country has one of the worst infant mortality rates of any industrialized nation. Last year, 1 out of every 159 babies in the United States died within the first 4 weeks of life. This story is not a recreation. It's the reality of life at the University of Cincinnati's and Children's Hospital neonatal facilities for newborn babies who need critical care.
A 7-month pregnant woman is being rushed to University Hospital.
There have been babies born for millions of years before there were physicians to help in their care, and many of those babies died.
Call Peds. 333, call Peds.
The 3-pound, 2-ounce girl was 7 weeks early, but though born in an ambulance, this premature baby was lucky enough to have no major problems.
Right there.
The next night, 18-year-old Heidi Sawyer is in the advanced stages of labor, 2 months before her due date, with her mother, Kathy McCarthy, at her side.
When they said they were going to take her right then and there, I got upset.
How you doing, Heidi?
Good.
Dr. Robert Jacobson must operate to save the baby.
Heidi's baby was in a breech presentation. That means the bud was first. Because the baby was premature, we would normally perform a cesarean section to prevent birth trauma.
Okay, here comes your baby. Baby's bottom's out. There we go, right here. The doctor will tell us what it is in just a minute. There we go. It's a little girl, 740, okay? How you doing? Huh? Now, they may be giving her oxygen and they're not going to cry right away, okay?
She was pretty blue and actually pretty limp.
Come on, little girl. Come on, baby.
A crying baby is a baby that's breathing, and that's always a real welcome sign.
Do you have a name for her? What is it? Destiny Renee. Destiny Renee. Very pretty.
Premature babies will often do well for the first few minutes or so and then develop more respiratory distress. You know that their lungs aren't mature.
We giving you some medicine.
It was really hard because I wanted to hold her. I wanted her close to me.
Now, the pediatricians are going to take her to the nursery.
I didn't know what to think, if she was okay or not.
Because Destiny's lungs are not completely formed yet, as with most preemies, the risk of infection is great. When we continue,
You just want to do your best because here is someone's child and they need you, and you want to do everything that you can and that you've been trained to do.
Why are so many people turning to Super Beats crystals? Because Super Beats crystals give you energy by boosting how you get a money pure.
I hope my insurance pays all the shopping.
neonatal transport team is being sent to a nearby hospital to pick up a newborn baby who's critically ill.
Your adrenaline's flowing, and you just want to do your best because here is someone's child, and they need you, and you want to do everything that you can and that you've been trained to do to save their life. We arrived to find a very sick infant. It was a widespread systemic infection.
Before the baby is transported, Dr. Maria Cruz has to explain the one-day-old boy's situation to his parents, Robert and Karen Hirth.
You never imagined it happening to you. You could tell in their faces that it was bad. I mean, you can tell by the way they were working on him that this baby was, I mean, who knows if it was going to live or not.
It's so painful because you can see the parents who love the baby so much suffer through everything.
When we moved him over the isolate, he was like a limp rag. There was no fight to him. He wouldn't flinch. He was going downhill very fast. He definitely needed extreme critical care. I was afraid that, he might arrest en route back.
Right?
It was a pretty smooth turnover, getting him into his own bed.
You have to find out what kind of infection the baby is suffering from so that you know what kind of medication to give to this baby. It's most probably group D streptococcus, and so we start giving the antibiotics, but the antibiotics still take time to work.
The baby's father, Robert, has driven over immediately to be close to his son.
Is there a name yet? Jonathan. Jonathan? That's great. Is this your first? Yeah. Oh, congratulations. Well, you're going through a lot. Yeah.
There's always a hope, and that's what keeps most parents going.
That same night, another critically ill newborn is transferred to the neonatal unit of Children's Hospital. The baby had been born unable to breathe on his own.
This child was born with a defect in his diaphragm.
Surgeon Victor Garcia takes over the care of the infant Cody Bullock.
When you have a defect there, those organs that are normally in the abdomen can find their way up into the chest, and it interferes with the development of the lung. One has to do an emergency procedure, otherwise that child will suffer a premature death.
Cody's father, Jason, is allowed to see his baby just before he's taken into surgery.
I was thinking that this can't be happening. Jesus, is he gonna live? How's he gonna be if he does make it? What's really wrong with him? The thoughts are running wild through your head.
You're dealing with tissues that are extraordinarily fragile. You're dealing with infants who are very delicate. And the threshold between a good result and a bad result is a very low one.
Here we are. It's a big defect, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to just very delicately free this up, okay? Very gently now, so we don't tear that liver. That's where the hole was. Now it's all closed up. And this is just the beginning. Even though we fixed this part, it's still yet to be determined whether the lungs are developed enough so that the baby will be able to breathe on his own. So even though he looks okay now, we have yet to see.
Two days after her birth, 18-year-old Heidi Sawyer's premature baby is doing much better, but must remain in intensive care.
When I go to sleep, I think about her. I think about how her life will be when she comes home. And I want it to happen now instead of waiting. I want to get her home. I just hope that she lives a normal life. I love her. I know when I get her home, I won't put her down.
1 week after his birth, Jonathan Hurth is still battling his Group B streptococcus infection. His parents refuse to give up hope.
The doctors or the nurses says he can hear you and feel you, so we just sit there and talk to him all day and play with him all day and just make sure that he knows that we're there.
Just let him know we're there and we care for him. Hopefully he'll respond a lot better. Knowing that he's got some loving parents waiting for him to come through.
The next day, Dr. Jonathan was gives Karen an update on her son, Jonathan. What they had feared most has happened.
Group B, streptococcus. It's an infection that starts in the lungs, goes to the blood, and frequently goes to the brain, and that's what it has done in this baby. The meningitis is what people do, basically. Yeah, you know, babies who get group B strep meningitis, which is the infection he's got, probably half of them have some permanent kind of consequences from it.
Down the hall, Angela and Jason Bullock look in on their 8-day-old son, Cody, who's slowly recovering from the surgery to repair his diaphragm.
It reassures you when you go in and you see him and he wakes up or something, or he cries or anything. You just notice each little thing. Cute. That's cute.
One month after Jonathan Hurth was born, Karen and Robert's son died as a result of the severe brain damage he had suffered.
You prepare for 9 months to have a baby, you want to bring it home, and when something like it happens and you know it's not going to last, you take every little moment and cherish as much as you can. Because you know that's all you're going to have to last your lifetime.
Group B streptococcus is a common bacteria which many mothers-to-be carry without any problems. But like Jonathan, babies can catch it during the birth and suffer complications.
When you hear strep, you think of strep throat. No one's really heard of group B strep. It's just a simple urine test to be tested for group B strep. We want to let the mothers and fathers know about the disease so they can ask their doctor about it.
We had a son and it was taken away from us. The pain gets easier as the time goes on, but it's still there.
He was my first. He will always be my first. The other kids that we will have, they will know that they have a little angel up in heaven. I'll never forget him.
A few days after her original due date, Destiny Renee Sawyer finally went home. Although she was born 7 weeks premature, she's now a healthy baby girl.
They took good care of Destiny. She's just a joy. I'm glad to have her home.
Watching her grow up makes me happy. She does a lot of things that'll amaze a person.
Weeks after his surgery, Cody Bullock was finally allowed to go home. But complications set in, and within a week, he was back in the hospital.
It was probably the most frustrating time. Because when you get him home, you expect to keep him there, and I didn't expect to have to bring him back again so soon. So funny.
He's a little trooper, and he makes me real proud. And he is a beautiful baby boy.
I just want him to be okay, as close to normal as they can get him, but I'll take him whichever way they get him to me. I don't mind.
Next.
When I look back and I seen her slump over, I said, oh my God, if she didn't get the truck stopped, there might have been no hope.
Attention cancer victims who use your brain alert to form.
On the afternoon of July 9th, 1991, in Evansville, Indiana, 27-year-old Lori Sellner was involved in a minor rear-end collision on her way downtown to meet her mother, Tanya Defendahl.
When I walked up to my daughter, I could tell something was wrong. She said someone hit me in the back end, and I think I may have a whiplash or something because the back of my neck is hurting really bad.
Also riding in Lori's pickup that day were her 3-year-old son and 6-year-old son, Dustin.
You
on telling her to put her seatbelt on, but she said, no, there's nothing gonna happen.
Lori never did like to wear a seatbelt. She always made the boys wear one, but she is a little bit uncomfortable with a seatbelt.
Despite a headache and the pain in her neck, Lori insisted she was all right to make the 15-minute drive to her mother's house to rest.
Oh, are you okay?
She motioned for me to come up there, so I pulled up beside her.
What's wrong?
I couldn't say anything wrong. I think she knew at the time she was getting sick, but she didn't want to scare me.
Get up.
When I looked back and I seen her slump over, I said, oh my God, if she didn't get the truck stopped in time, there might have been no hope for all three of them.
When she fell over, I had tears going down my eye because I thought my mommy was dying. And I knew if I didn't stop the truck, we would be in a real bad accident. Lori, what's wrong?
Dustin was clutched on the floor, holding the brake in.
The truck is stopped, Dustin, so can you...
She was out, and I started crying. I says, Lori, please wake up, honey. Wake up, Mama's here. I couldn't get any response. By that time, I was really getting panicked because her lips were turning blue, her hands had turned blue, and her eyes were rolling up in her head. When you see something like that, I mean, you know you're losing your daughter. Two guys did come by.
You want my daughter? I don't know what it is. She's had a heart attack or what. Let's get help. And then we got help coming. Okay, we got help coming.
The men drove to the nearest house where Gene Gillis lived.
Yeah, what can I do?
This man told me to call 911. There was a lady across the highway he thought was having a heart attack.
The nearest available ambulance was returning from a call more than 20 miles away.
Past Cody County line.
Report on line, Highway 66.
Gene Gillis drove to the scene to see if he could help.
When I drove up, there was two little kids standing at the side of the truck. They were scared and they were crying.
Ma'am, what's that?
The older woman was very upset, so I told her to gather up the kids and get them off to the side of the highway. So I just held her in the same position and tried to hold her still then.
All right. I'm trying to keep your head still.
It seemed like a lifetime. I just kept looking down the highway and waiting to hear the siren. I was so happy to see them when they got there.
Within 12 minutes of the call, paramedic Steve Hoflinger and his partner arrived on the scene.
Anytime you have a patient in an auto accident laying in neck pain, you have to be extremely careful because one wrong move and you paralyze the patient for life.
Lori was hospitalized with whiplash and a concussion and later released. Everyone at the scene was surprised to learn that it was Dustin who had stopped the truck.
I had 5 children of my own, and they're all very smart kids, but I just never ran into a 6-year-old child that could do that before. He really did a good job.
6-year-old Dustin said
cool. He's riding on a go-kart.
that day. In their eyes, he will
I
always
love
be.
go-karts. I used to have a go-kart.
When I first realized and heard everything that Dusty had done, I thought this kid's really level-headed. We might not be here today if he hadn't been so quick and so fast, and he's just a smart boy. I'm proud.
I didn't get to read. Oh.
difficult. If you're in an accident, stop, get help, don't keep driving, because, you know, you might not have that second chance.
What's K for? That's Mommy's favorite word. What's K? No, what starts with the K that we're kissing?
I'm glad that my mommy's okay because I love my mommy.
Okay, you want to give Mommy now a kiss? Because you love me?
Why are so many people turning to Super Beats crystals? Because Super Beats crystals give you the energy and blood pressure support you want from real beets without the beet taste.
It's amazing that something so simple can be this great for my heart. It tastes good and it's healthy for me and it's healthy for my blood pressure.
I'm not gonna put like Reba on YouTube because I don't want to get a copyright strike, or the Big Bang Theory. I'm just deleting this from the DVR.
How about the perpetual mo?
Oh, cool. Scene was on Sunday night. I'll do remarriage rescue, cop saves dog.
First responders jump into action. Rescue 911 next.
This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened.
Some families are brought closer together by tragedy. Others are torn apart. Until the time comes, you can never know how it will affect you, as one family from San Jose, California discovered in January of 1989.
High above the city of San Jose, the Sierra Road winds through the hills.
Kids have a tendency to ride their bikes down there extremely fast.
They like to reach the speed going down 30, 40 miles an hour. When you're going that fast down the hill, when you're on a bicycle that weighs only 5, 10 pounds, and a vehicle gets in front of you, there's just no way you're going to stop.
Danny Gonzalez ran to try to help the youth.
He looked like he had a real bad head injury, and he was in convulsions and spasms. There was nothing I could really do for him. So I just waited there and tried to comfort him as much as I could.
Danny's girlfriend, Missy Crouchard, called 911.
So
has an emergency. What are you reporting?
Yeah, I have an emergency. There's this little boy who just fell off his bike. He looks pretty bad.
San Jose Fire Department EMTs were immediately dispatched to the scene.
We know right away that that's a downhill with a grade of about 40%, so we know it's going to be pretty bad. Most of them are usually when we get there.
Al Castorina and his wife happened to be driving by.
When we got to the bottom of the hill, we saw the commotion. The boy was laying on the side of the road, and my first reaction when I saw him was nobody touch him. Moving him in any way at all would be detrimental.
Does anybody know who he is?
No, I've never seen him around before.
It was a real concern of mine that, who do we notify? Who do we tell?
The first rescue workers arrived within 5 minutes.
Upon arrival on the scene, I saw what was left of the bicycle, so we knew right away that it was a very serious injury. So we started getting the victim ready for when the paramedics arrived.
Art Fisher, who lived nearby, had also come over to help.
My heart just went out to this young man. It was probably the most darkest moment in his life.
When the paramedics started getting there, there was a growing concern of who he was.
He had no identification, no helmet, and nobody knew him. We just really felt very, very helpless. There was nothing anybody could do.
EMT Ernie Colson could see the boy's head injuries were massive.
When you see someone hurt this bad, they don't have a chance. So I more or less wrote the guy off.
The critically injured youth was loaded into the ambulance and taken to the hospital without anyone knowing who he was.
I have a son that's the same age, and you can see your own son there. I never thought he'd make it to the hospital, and I thought this kid could be alive today if he was wearing a helmet.
We were all powerless to do anything. If he was going to die.
So, like, basically, the reason why this episode is called Rescue 911 Remarriage Rescue, Cop Saves Dog, is
Missy and other
because
bystanders went door to
when
door
the
through the
boy,
neighborhood, searching for someone who might
15-year-old
know the
boy
injured.
Jason fell off his bike and had a biking accident,
or ever saw
his
him
parents were
before.
divorced.
The unidentified youth arrived
remarried
at San Jose Medical Center,
because of
where
his
he was treated by
accident.
doctors, including trauma surgeon Jeff
Reunited
Beckman.
his divorced
When someone
parents.
has a head injury, the brain is swelling, but there's nowhere for it to go. It's surrounded by a skull. It's the swelling that people die from in head injuries.
The hospital needed to find out who the victim was. Trauma social worker Carmen Castillo was given the difficult task.
I had contacted the missing persons information line, and I was informed at that time that there was no parents calling in, and we kept coming up with nothing.
Time is critical. We have what we call the golden hour. It's the first hour after an injury. There are things we can do in that golden hour that can prevent permanent damage or death.
Because the boy was a minor, they needed a legal consent in order to operate, but they couldn't find his parents. When we continue,
He was always a very punctual son, never stayed away from home, and I didn't know where he was or when he would be
So
back.
there's his
It was
brother
way
and
too
father
late.
at
He
the
should have
dinner
known.
table.
Why are so many people turning to super?
I just bought it.
Yes, the only head.
The system is not on there.
You should consider.
when an unidentified
Be a savior and me.
Paying too much for your prescriptions. Download the free app today and take back control.
Ladies, here are a few things you should consider. A small, powerful flashlight can be a savior in many spots with low or no light, especially when you're alone. Ever think of how a whistle will attract attention? Attach one to your keychain. It could be a lifesaver. Instead of yelling help when in distress, yell fire. It's a proven fact more people will respond to fire than approve for help. Be prepared and be safe.
True Crime Network, Justice Network, Safety Tips. That's I felt like I had to.
When an unidentified youth suffered a serious head injury in a bicycle accident, his parents could not be located in time to give their consent for a critically needed operation. 10 miles across town, divorced parent Wes Smith was waiting for his older son Jason to get home for dinner.
He was always a very punctual son. Never stayed away from home, and I didn't know where he was or when he would be back. And it was way too late. He should have been home, and he wasn't. I tried to sit down to eat, and I couldn't eat it. That terrible feeling that you get when you know something is wrong, but what?
By this time, a doctor and a judge had signed consents, and the boy had undergone emergency surgery to help relieve the pressure on his brain. Missy and the others who called were told the doctors didn't know he would survive the coma without brain damage.
I thought the police wouldn't take the report till he'd been gone for 72 hours, but just the off chance that there was an accident involved somewhere, I thought I would call them. Hi, this is Wes Smith. I live here in San Jose. And the lady who responded started asking questions about him.
Joel, they may have him.
It's a gut-wrenching feeling I think that only a parent can feel. I just knew that it was him. And of course, I didn't even know how badly he was injured, or even if he was still alive.
Carmen had been told by the police that a man would be coming by the hospital who might be the father of the unidentified boy.
Mr. Smith? Hi, I'm Carmen Castillo. I had a bag of this child's clothing, and I took out the piece of clothing that was on top, and I remember him being very saddened by that. He said he had folded those underwear many a times to know that that was his son's. Then the next thing I'd like to do is go into the room, okay?
I've begun to realize that this indeed was the beginning of my worst nightmare.
You could step out. A little way.
Joel was outside in the corridor. They didn't want to bring him in until we were sure it was indeed his brother. His head was completely shaven. He was all bloody on one side of his head, and he had tubes and probes and everything going all parts of his body, and the monitor going and a breather going, and you could hardly recognize him for what he was.
And it's okay to touch him, and it's okay to talk with him. We don't know whether the patient can hear or not, but if there's any remote possibility that the patient's hearing, the parent's voice would be very soothing to him.
Hi, son. Is your dad talking? How you doing, bud? I love you.
Holding his hand was probably one of the hardest things I had to do. I wanted to, and I've always held his hand. But that hand was not his hand. It was like holding a dead person. There was no life to it. No, just a cold hand.
We stood there looking at him for the longest time, and I was thinking, I wish I could have told him that I loved him
I
more.
just had to sneeze.
I'll get you, buddy. I'm not gonna leave you.
At that time, I thought I better call his mother, who was living in Southern California and had no knowledge of this.
Jason's mother, Jeannie Smith, immediately caught a plane to be with her son. Her brother came with her for emotional support.
Nothing could have prepared me for the sight of my precious son laying there so close to death. And the only thing that I could think of was, he's not going to make it through the night.
In that first 72 hours, it's difficult to give a good prognosis on what's going to come out.
But in my heart of hearts, I did not think Jason would survive.
The first thing that Wes and I talked about was that if Jason should die, we wanted to donate parts of his body. We felt that if he did not live, that we certainly wanted somebody else to be able to live because of Jason.
I didn't have any feeling I could do anything at all for him other than to hold his hand and tell him that I loved him and stand by him. And we did that for night after night and day after day.
Jason remained in a coma without any improvement for 8 days.
Carmen met me outside and said, "We have a surprise for you today. Come on in." I walked into the room, and Jason was looking at me through one eye that was barely open and the other still completely closed.
Thanks for using Locast. We're a nonprofit and need your help to keep operating. Especially now, during the coronavirus crisis, Americans need access to local broadcast stations. Please contribute $5 a month. Thank you.
Jason scabbed over, and he reaches up and says, "Hi, Dad." Ah, that was the most beautiful sound I've heard, and I can't remember when. It was just beautiful. My son had come back.
15-year-old Jason Smith was hospitalized for 6 weeks.
Swimming swing laps in the
After 4
swimming
months of
pool.
intensive
I
physical
love
therapy,
that. I love to
amazingly,
swing laps.
he has made a complete
Swimming laps is
recovery.
good exercise.
I was very surprised that strangers could care about me that much. They tended to me in my hour of need when I came to a Bouncing Buddy stop on Sierra Road, and I appreciate them for saving my life more than words could ever express. Since the accident, I have made a little card with my name, address, phone numbers of my parents, all information possible that would get me on safe ground as soon as possible.
It was such a joy to this mom's heart to see our son returning to us again. And the more that we were together, the more I realized this is my place, to be with my husband, to be with my sons.
After 8 years of separation, Wes and Jeannie Smith were remarried on November 17th, 1990.
I was the one that brought up the subject. I didn't want to be without my family anymore, so I decided to take the big plunge and ask Wes if he was still interested in remarriage, and of course he was.
Both boys really enjoyed the fact that we are family once again. Joel just beams, and he'll shove us together. Give her a hug. Give her a hug, Dad.
You can't have one, Dad.
Oh, that's right.
Now they're playing a family game.
Is that life
And
is so
they're
precious.
eating popcorn.
Your children are precious to you. You need to take every moment that you can and let them know how much you love them.
There's never a night that we don't kiss and hug each other goodnight. There's never a morning we don't kiss and say hello in the morning. And this is the whole family, not just a part of it.
That's it.
Oh, they have a fire going in the fire.
The dog collapsed. My
And
worst
this
fear came true,
next door,
and I
a
knew at that
Dalmatian
point
dog is in
that I probably was going to lose him.
In the mo-
When you become a police officer, sometimes you have to go above and beyond the call of duty. But Officer Mike Fusco never imagined how far he might have to go to try and save a life until the morning of December 14th, 1989.
There was nothing unusual about the morning. Kevin was watching cartoons. I was upstairs putting my makeup on and getting ready for work. Willie was downstairs playing. That was his claim to fame. He just loved to play ball. Kevin is an only child, and the dog was a great companion to my son Kevin.
I wasn't paying attention. I was watching cartoons. And the next thing I turned around and he was making funny noises.
I took one look at Willie and I could actually see the ball lodged in his throat. I tried with my hand to work the ball out myself. That didn't work at all. I panicked. I immediately called the vet. The receptionist could only tell me to bring the dog in.
It frightened me. I was afraid he was going to be dead when I went to school.
I did get Kevin down to a neighbor's house. I did not want Kevin to witness this.
Hello?
I called my sister Diane and I asked her for help.
Susan's sister Diane brought her 10-year-old son Michael to help take Willie to the vet.
Willie was choking but able to breathe. I tried to remove the ball also, but I was unsuccessful. His tooth came down and he wouldn't allow it. The situation situation really didn't get bad until we tried to put him in the car. When we tried to put him in the vehicle, he panicked. And that's when it became bad.
Willie had started vomiting. My worst fear came true, and I knew at that point that I probably was going to lose him. The dog collapsed. There was no passageway. I mean, when he started vomiting, that all blocked.
My son was sitting right next to the dog, so he just literally watched the dog fall over and become limp.
When I looked back, I saw that Willie was dead. I was really scared. I never seen anything die right before me.
We only had minutes. We're never going to make it to the vet. And the police station was right there. If anybody can help us, they can help us. Because there was nothing we could do at that point.
I knew right then and there that Mike Fusco was in the building. He's one of our canine officers.
Mike had been one of the first canine officers in the state to be taught how to do CPR on dogs.
I never thought I'd be doing it on somebody else's dog.
When did you get a heartbeat?
We checked for a heartbeat. There's no heartbeat. He wasn't getting any air into him. I could see the ball lodge way down his throat. So I reached down, pulled the ball out, clamped his mouth together, and started breathing in through his nose. For every couple breaths, I started doing some chest compressions.
Come on, buddy.
Come on.
I don't have any. Nothing at all, Mike, nothing.
I'm just thinking to myself, there's just no way this is gonna work. This dog's dead. I just gotta keep doing it. It's just before Christmas time. It's kind of sad, especially for the kid.
All right, okay, come on, Willie, breathe.
I really loved the dog very much. I mean, we were going to lose part of the family, which is a hard thing to deal with.
I guess a minute after 2 minutes went by, and I thought to myself a couple times whether or not I should stop. John and Mike, they were rooting for this dog to come back to life, and it keeps you going. Because, you know, how far can I carry this?
Come on,
I
buddy.
always loved dogs. I felt that I had to keep going. I had to keep going, and, you know, I gotta bring this dog back.
Wait a minute,
All of a sudden,
got a heartbeat, but it's sporadic.
Hands up, really? Really? You sure?
Okay, we got a heartbeat.
Okay, he's starting to breathe.
Yep.
He's starting to breathe. He's opening his mouth. He's got his eyes open. He's breathing. He's breathing. Come on. Good boy.
he came back like all of a sudden, he just sparked right up. I mean, he opened up his eyes and just took this big gasp of air and started breathing. I couldn't believe it.
Okay, see, it says, remarried rescue, cop saves dog. A 15-year-old is injured in a bicycle accident. Police officers try to save a choking dog. See, it says Justice Network, but it
Dude,
used to be
told him it was
Justice
still
Network.
days.
Now it's
So we
True Crime
ready to
Network.
put him to the back
I
of his
refer
truck,
to it
throw a
as
blanket
both.
on him, and he just wanted to start running
Justice
around.
Network, True Crime Network, because I like
I don't
that
think it was
name,
more
Justice
amazing than me.
Network.
Just never thought it would happen.
I like the name True Crime.
They rushed Willie to the vet, where he was examined and found to be suffering no ill effects from his accident. Willie and his family have learned their lesson. Now he's only allowed to play with tennis balls, which are too large for him to swallow.
We've become very good friends with Mike. He stops by on a regular basis to see us and the dog.
Come on, buddy. What's his ball? All right, come on, Willie. You ready? Come on, come on.
After this whole incident, first thing he did was just jump up on top of me and start licking my face. And, you know, it was a good feeling. It's kind of like he knew what happened.
He did a great job. If it wasn't for Mike, I wouldn't have my dog.
I think I'll have this over my head for my whole career here. Get dog bones, ribbons on, dog bone baskets, and you know, dog bones on my car. It is funny when I think about it now. I ran out there and started breathing into his muzzle. I mean, a lot of people are real amazed that a cop would even do something like that. So I guess it gives us a good name anyways, you know? Hey. Whether it's my dog or somebody else's, nobody wants to lose one. Because they are that close to us and they're part of the family.
Now there's like 5 episodes left of Rescue 911.
Trucks, they're all over your TV screen. But the biggest thieves are behind your screen. I'm talking about the cable companies. They charge monthly subscriptions, fees, rentals.
Cocaine habit is
I'm
what
an
God.
animal rescue.
You know, what I take away from this case is that
Coming next, a famous baseball manager saves animals. Plus, a moose is trapped in a fence. And moving dangerous cats. This is Animal Rescue. Heroes.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Alex Payne. Animal rescuers come in many sizes and shapes, and they come from many varied walks of life. But they share one thing in common, a love of animals.
What does this playful puppy and two cute kittens have in common with baseball? Big league manager Tony La Russa, who founded the Animal Rescue Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to helping unwanted animals.
Well, the organization itself started in 1991, and there was an incident on the field in 1990 where a feral cat at the Coliseum, Oakland Coliseum, came on the field playing the Yankees. Came in our dugout. I saved it to the end of the game. And the game found out that we put to sleep. So we took it to our county, which is about 30 miles east, and they were overwhelmed there. And so then we realized that, you know, as in most places, if you're talking about animal rescue, you're going to have to supplement public efforts with a private nonprofit, and that's how we started ours.
Tony's notoriety as a popular manager has helped the foundation immensely.
Our players, they know how committed my family and I are to animal rescue, and they've been very supportive. Classic with Mark McGuire. He's actually on our board of directors. But, you know, Mark McGuire signed game use bat, you know, that's several $1,000s. So what ARF is, it's really like people and animals helping each other.
At its Walnut Creek, California headquarters, the Animal Rescue Foundation coordinates the efforts of its staff and hundreds of volunteers to help care for these unwanted and sometimes unhealthy animals.
This is our cat care room where most of the animals that we have come first from the animal shelters. They arrive sometimes not well, they might be small kittens. By our volunteer, and he is really a poor little guy that needs a little extra care. He's getting syringe fed every day, several times, and lots of extra love and care and vet checkups to make sure that he recovers so that he can be adopted by a loving family. This is Figaro, who was brought into ARF after she was hit by a car and had a dislocated hip. ARF then brought her into our system, nursed her back to health, and today she's ready for adoption. Hi, sweetie.
The cats enjoy good company and get loving attention as they await adoption. For many of these unwanted strays, this is the first quality interaction with humans they've received.
They benefit because they're well socialized. They get to get out and play with people, with each other, and they end up having a pretty good time in the process.
Nearby, the Animal Rescue Foundation operates a thrift store to raise additional funds. And in the back, there's a feline nursing facility where the animals are checked and treated for illnesses and diseases.
These animals may not necessarily look or act like they're sick, but they can frequently have airborne viruses that are quite contagious. Many times they have been coming from backgrounds that are very questionable. We don't know what happened to them before they landed in the shelter, and so we really have to check out how healthy they are to make sure that when they get adopted out, that the people end up with a healthy animal. That's ARF's goal, is to make sure that the animals are adopted for a long and healthy lifespan with their new owners.
I've personally fostered about 80 cats out of my own household and seen them go get adopted and get really good health. Well, it's just very, very rewarding. I'll check up on the cats that I fostered and talk to the people who are now their owners and get, you know, such great reports, and they tell me, you know, how this is the best cat they've ever had, and they're just really thankful that ARF was there for them to adopt a cat from.
And that's how ARF measures its success, when a stray or unwanted animal finds a new loving home.
We got Skippy because we foster for ARF. And typically we get in a puppy or two, and we keep till we find homes for them. And this time we ended up getting 7 puppies and their mom. And so we kept 5 for a month.
Oh, and you too?
We opted to keep the puppy that just get along with, family of 5, with 2 other dogs. We've got chickens, horses, and Skip just seemed to just fit right into the family. The kids all just fell in love with him, and my husband fell in love with him, and he's a great dog. He's just part of the family. He's what you call our foster failure. He was meant to go find a home, but he's here. He's here to stay.
He sleeps on my bed with me. He's like one of my best friends. I love him a lot.
While these cats and dogs will never hit home runs, their lives will certainly be happy, thanks to Tony LaRussa's Animal Rescue Foundation.
Once they come to ARF, we're going to find them new loving homes for life, and they are safe here until that happens.
I mean, we're the kind of people that pull off the interstate, you know, in the rain, if you see a dog or a cat, and you rescue them. And we have 9 rescued cats in the house and 4 rescued dogs, so this is no all talk and no show, you know, we show up.
Tony LaRussa is a true animal rescue hero. To learn more about his organization, log on to our website, www.animalrescuetv.com. Next, a wild bull moose is trapped in a fence.
We were just driving by when we noticed him laying here. He's scared
Real
shitless, this guy.
emergencies involving animals and the people who help them.
Diet. We traveled to Canada in desperate need of help.
In northern Canada, Ken Lamiga and his brother John spot a large moose apparently trapped in a wire fence.
Bull moose apparently tried to cross my fence and got tangled up in the wire, and he's breathing his last right now.
The brothers aren't sure if the moose is dead, but nevertheless cautiously approach the animal to investigate further. The moose's legs are indeed tangled in a web of wires. However, it is still alive.
This is right beside the road, too. We were just driving by when we noticed him laying here. He's scared spitless, this guy.
Ready.
Oh, good.
Just deleting some programs from my DVR to save space.
About how deep this goes.
Slow down.
Do not tell me to slow down. You catch up.
The kids' everyday problems, then you're out there working.
Click on resume.
Laying here. He's scared
There.
spitless,
It's
this
back
guy.
on.
It's obviously a very young moose. Haven't seen antlers this small for quite a while. But a pretty good sized animal compared to a deer or an elk or anything. Just the front legs seem to be tied up. The back legs both appear to be free. Certainly one of them is, the other one looks like it is. And we don't really want to cut this fence, which is under some tension. Smooth wire for the buffalo. The buffalo, incidentally, are back there. You can just make them up through the trees back there. John is just talking to his wife on the CB right now, asking her to phone the game warden.
The local game warden replies that the brothers should await his arrival and not touch the animal. But Ken and John are worried about the moose's injuries and now try to determine if waiting is a good idea.
But there is some damage to the legs, obviously. And he's done some bleeding, too. See, the skin is quite badly torn there. And you can see the leg has been bleeding some.
Ken proposes a plan to his brother.
You know, we could probably release him. If we could pull those wires apart with rope. Maybe we can do that. Yes, if you could cut the top one, that would maybe release him. Nice rest and nice for him too. But the game warden is on his way over right now. We don't know when he'll arrive. It shouldn't be too long, I guess. Although you may have to drive in from Spirit River. 50 miles. He told us not to touch it. It seems a bit silly. But maybe this is a new experience for him too, seeing a moose tied up in a fence like this. Certainly the first time for John and me. And the buffalo curious as to what's going on here, and this moose scared spitless.
John decides to act and not wait for the game warden. The brothers know the moose must be tiring and possibly in shock, so time is of the essence.
John's trying to release the tension on that top wire, because there's a possibility that the moose could get free. Oh, look at him, he's trying to get up. Lots of life left in that guy.
Slowly, John walks up to the moose and tries to nudge the animal.
Now we've got an audience. Look at that.
He then tosses a rope around the antlers,
Yeah, go ahead, pull.
attempting to pull the moose away from the wire and freedom.
No, you have to get that foot out of that wire.
But the moose is exhausted and gives up.
It could make it worse, though.
Now what to do?
Get higher up. Get it up closer to the ankle.
Thanks for using Locast. We're a nonprofit and need your help to keep operating. Especially now, during the coronavirus crisis, Americans need access to local broadcast stations. Please contribute $5 a month. Thank you.
Get it right up tight. Maybe you can lift it and pull at the same time. Well, where am I going to run? You can jump on a buffalo if you want. Run around the front of him, though, to get away from him. What's still holding him there?
John gets closer at his own risk, placing the rope around a leg, knowing full well this wild animal could leap up at any moment and kick him. But the brothers decide to chance it anyway.
That wire's underneath. That one's underneath, too. Watch yourself now.
As the rescue continues, the moose is almost oblivious to the brothers' efforts. One more pull.
Pull. Give him a pull. Okay, good. Okay, come over here now.
Freed at last. This moose still can't believe it and lays motionless on the ground, but not for long.
There he comes. Take him. Take him. Unbelievable. He seems to be okay. There he is, right on the center of the road. We saved ourselves a bull moose. We think he's going to make it. Oh. Wow, does that make us feel good?
Captured on a home video camera, this rescue turned out to be a real family effort. Two brothers saving the life of a wild bull moose. Two brothers getting involved made a huge difference in the life of that bull moose. It took lots of courage and lots of determination, but they saved an animal. Next, some other wild animals need help.
These are unprecedented. Save you thought online.
Gone.
Of your own.
Many people and organizations dedicate themselves to helping animals. One such group is IFAW, the International Fund for Animal Welfare. When several wild animals needed assistance, IFAW went into action. In Massachusetts, an exotic animal park is closing, and 3 big cats, a lioness, a tiger, and cougar, need a new home. But finding a residence for these wild animals isn't easy. They need special care and handling. Luckily, representatives from IFAW locate a proper facility in Texas and now will begin the transfer operation.
You want to make sure they're completely immobilized before you move them. They have tremendous jaw power. With these cats, we just wanted to sedate them and get them down, but we had to get them down enough, immobilized enough to draw blood and do some tests that we want to do. Because they carry the same disease that domestic house cats do, basically. And obviously, we don't want these guys to bring anything down to the cats where they're going. What we want to do is try and do it very quickly and do it in such a manner that they don't get very stressed.
After some soothing talk from Matt's owner, the sedated and very heavy animals are taken one by one to the awaiting transport truck.
International Fund for Animal Welfare is getting involved with this rehoming of the cats because through their emergency relief program, they have the ability to choose a sanctuary that we feel will give them the quality of life for the rest of their life.
Their life here in Massachusetts was good, and the care provided by the owner was never in question. The facility was just closing. Now, one last check from the vet, and the animals are ready for their trip.
We picked up a time of the year that was just ideal for the animal to make a move. We left around 3 o'clock Eastern time and got into San Antonio 36 hours later.
The lions will actually be integrated in with a lion and 2 other lionesses eventually.
As the lioness gets acquainted with her new surroundings, it's time to release the others. But the tiger is a bit more reluctant than the lioness, creating some tense moments for the IFAW team.
The tiger will go into his own cage initially and then be integrated in with other tigers. So he'll have his same species to interact with, which will make for even a healthier life. The mountain lion will also be integrated in with other mountain lions.
They'll be housed separately for a month, 2 months, whatever it takes till we're 100% comfortable they can be integrated with these other animals. Any move is stressful. Coming into a new environment for the first time, obviously, can create undue stress on them. But the end result is beautiful. And they're lucky. They're very lucky that they are ones that can survive in a normal manner. And as long as we have the support of the public and wonderful groups like IFAW, then we can continue to expand and continue giving them quality care.
And we at IFAW are really fortunate to have sanctuaries like yours, that we feel the integrity is there. Everything is being done for the best of the animals' sakes. We couldn't be helping if it wasn't for the great job that you've done here and the love and devotion you've put into what's here for the animals. And these cats are very fortunate to be coming here. You really are.
A new home for 3 wild cats, thanks to some dedicated and caring animal rescuers. We'll have more of Animal Rescue right after this. Crime happens. Learn about different critters and the dedicated people who care for them. Plus, animal safety tips and information on how to better care for your
Next,
lovable
Dog
pet.
Tales
All
Family
this and much more next time on Animal Rescue Heroes.
every Sunday, Saved by the Bell is on VTV. So I record it with the DVR. So I watched some of the episodes today, but I didn't watch them all. So.
Follow us on Facebook at Dogtails TV. Dogtails, Family Edition. America's premier dog lovers magazine show. All the latest news from the dog world. Right now on this edition of Dogtails, Family Edition. Meet the Daru family from Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Proud owners of two Bichon Frise named Max and Harley.
We picked this breed because they don't shed. They're supposed to be very good family dogs. And they're just good dogs. They're not very big. They're, not too small, but not, too big, and they're portable.
When we first decided to maybe get a dog, we probably talked through that decision 5 or 6 years to make sure that we, husband and wife, as well as the kids, were ready to have a dog and the responsibility that came with getting a dog.
I had dogs as a kid, and Nick was the same way, but we never had a training dog. Well, we wanted it to be trained, so that was interesting. Took them to puppy classes and learned how to potty train them, and it worked out well. They get in the car and they get all excited because they're going to go see Nanny and Poppy. We decided to get Max because we thought maybe Harley needed to be more of a dog. And Les is, one of the kids. He needed to, roll around on the ground with another dog and get a playmate. So we decided it was a no-brainer just to go buy another Bichon. Harley's been in our last 3 Christmas cards, and now this coming year, Max will be part of the Christmas cards. Harley's always been a very serious dog. just always had. When we brought Max home, I didn't realize two dogs can have such different personalities. But Max can be a goofball, and it's good for Harley that, it's like having that goofy, younger brother that always makes you laugh because he keeps it moving.
They play a lot and roughhouse a lot, typical boys, but they have a lot of fun together. So do the kids take care of the dogs? Not to the point of maybe picking up in the backyard, but they are always the first ones to volunteer to take them for walks in the evening and feed them and bathe them. So they're doing a good job raising the dogs as well.
Oh, they're part of our family. I think having dogs with kids teaches them love too. It teaches them how to care for something else and care for animals.
Our thanks to the Guru family for inviting us to their home and sharing their dog tales. Next up, our Spotlight Breed, and much more on Dog Tales, Family Edition.
It's in, well, now more to, he releases Realtor.com.
Family Edition.
I'm a very special dog. Everybody loves me. I'm a bundle of joy with a pedigree.
I have two 8-month-old Afghan hounds. One's named Raina, and she's black with tan markings, and the other one's Sienna, which is a cream with black markings. They're sight hounds, they're sisters, they came from the same litter, and I've had Afghans for 28 years. From the beginning, I was a youngster and I was living up in Nevada. I didn't really know the community there, and I got this dog, and the dog used to go out to the Indian reservations with me and run and chase the truck. So he became like my best friend, and he was there all the time with me, and he was a special animal. And when he got older, I got another one, and then he died, and I got another one, and I bred those two, and then I had pups, and I kept them, and I had, so it's just been a revolving thing with me. And my whole life, I researched what kind of food these animals need, and they're on a superior food. It's a large puppy breed food. They get fresh water every day, and they get table scraps. They eat carrots, they eat bananas. They eat basically whatever I eat. They do take a lot of care. There's a lot of grooming. I groom them about once every 2 weeks, real good, and then just basically maintain them, which is not that hard. But a lot of people would think it's a task. They're regal, they're docile, they're aloof. They like to hang out at the park on their own. They like to go and walk the border of the park and just check out stuff. And they're fast, and they're athletic, and they're tall, and they're obedient. They're just an amazing animal. They're not the traditional family dog like a mutt, like a mixed bred animal or a golden retriever, so to say. But my daughter, since day one, had Afghans in her life, and they've always been great with her. she'll come home from school or something, and she goes right to the dogs, and she'll hug them, and they'll lick her, and we run out in the yard and play with them, get them riled up, because they like to run around. She loves them. They're a purebred animal, and purebreds aren't the best. In my opinion, they're not the best animals for kids. I have two of them that are completely opposite, are 180 degrees from each other. And the black one likes to be held and pet, and loves to kiss, and loves to hang out, and she comes in the house all the time. And the white one, she'll sleep out in the grass in the middle of the night. She's more the aloof, you know, backed off, you know, observant one.
These programs,
The black one,
like Dog Tales and Animal Rescue,
watchdog already.
are like
She jumps up in
PI,
the front
meaning
window,
they're
in my bay window,
educational
and I see,
and
and she
informative.
sits up, and she's just a monster standing in the window. It's great. I want her to just kind of watch the house at night, and if she alerts me at night, then I know what's up. But you know, it's great to have her because she will scare someone if they come by at night. My last one lasted 14 and a half years, so that's a long lifespan for an Afghan. And I attribute that to a good diet. They need to be stern. You have to teach them, at the same time as love them, you have to be stern with them. Teach them that you're the alpha, you know, and they're subordinate, and they'll be a loving, amazing animal. They're a big part of our family.
Let's see, breed, Afghan Hound, country of origin, Afghanistan, temperament, affectionate, additional comments, best with older children, not for apartment living, need long daily walks.
Everybody loves me.
Walk up. We eat. Walk. Walk.
Dogs and sheep herding have been around for thousands of years, teaching canines mental and physical discipline.
Most people think that you have to have sheep to do herding, and you really don't. You can come out and take lessons and just give your dog a job, and it can be any breed. We have all breeds coming out for herding lessons, border collies, German shepherds, Australian shepherds, corgis, you name it. If it's a herding breed, it can come out here and use its natural instinct and have a good time.
Eat. Lie. Walk.
Yeah, the dogs that come out, the owners or originally come out looking for something fun for their dogs to do, and then a great majority of them get bitten by the herding bug, and then they start looking into what else they can do with this sport, and they get hooked and they start going to herding competitions. And even in the LA area, there's, you know, herding competitions every few months.
When I first get a dog that comes out for herding, we instinct test them and put them on sheep to see what their natural instincts are. So we acquaint them with sheep, see what their drive is like, their herding abilities are like, and we just get them acquainted with sheep the very first time. And if your dog shows that they have all this natural ability to work stock, then we continue working them in a small area so that they gain that confidence where they can catch the sheep. What they're wanting to do, which you have a lot of dogs that are wanting to chase cars, or why they want to chase a ball, is because they want to stop that action. So when they're in here on sheep, and the sheep are trying to get away, they want to get to that head to stop that action and bring them back to you. And that's what their natural abilities are. That's what herding is.
In the very beginning classes, the trainer will take the dog into the round pen, and this is a round pen. It's about 60 feet diameter, and we use a round pen first so there's no corners where the sheep can get stuck, and then also we have a small pen so that the trainer can protect the sheep from the dogs that are a little overzealous in the beginning.
He is just lovely right off the bat. So we're gonna pick him up right on the pike, just straight on the money. Sometimes dogs catch on the very first day. Sometimes it takes a few months. Every dog, just like people, their personalities are so different. It's very different. So some dogs are instantly, the very first time, they're boom, right on it, bringing the sheep instantly, all by themselves with no help. And it really doesn't matter what breed of dog you have, as long as they have that herding ability. A lot of these dogs were bred hundreds of years ago to be herding dogs. Rottweilers were actually bred to drive cattle to market, and then they would put the money around their neck on the way home to protect that purse. So those were the actual original herding breeds, which people think are odd when they see, especially if you see a Rottweiler herding a duck. You think that's pretty funny, but actually they're very talented at it and very finessey at it. So if I had a herd of ducks, you would need a dog to bring them in for you. So what we're going to ask her to do is go bring us these sheep nicely. Give her a little scold there, because what she did wasn't so nice. She didn't go up and ask them nicely. She was a little rough there. So I just reminded her, let's be a little nicer to our sheep. Our whole goal is to make the sheep happy. So when we ask this dog to bring us the sheep are happy. Lie down, walk, walk, lie down, wait. So we can put these sheep wherever we want, and the dog just uses their natural abilities to find that balance point, which is in the eye of the stalk, to bring them straight to me. So that if I was on my front porch and a mile out I had 100 head of sheep, that I would want her to go get them for me while I sat and had coffee. So I would just give her a command. She would go out, get the sheep, and bring them to me. As we progress and they learn that this is how we talk to sheep, then we start putting commands to it. Lie down, walk, that ask for certain behaviors, which is wait, that means go right, lie down. Lie down in herding doesn't mean lie down, it just means stop. Come bite, that's left, and that's right, go around it.
Old border collie, an agility dog, and she does really well in agility, but she doesn't have the same love for it as she does for herding things. At home, she tends to want to herd the cars, the cat, my other dog, so I really wanted to do something for her that she would enjoy. So I wanted to bring her up here to a place where she could experience herding in a safe environment.
There are so many different varied reasons that people get into herding. One of the first and foremost is it's the most challenging sport on the planet. I don't think people actually realize that, because we're taking a predator and we're going to control a prey animal completely hands off. So I challenge anybody to show me a more challenging sport than sheepdog. But it's also the most rewarding, because I can think it and my dog will go do it. And I can't find that in a human.
So far, we are very happy with Robin. This is our first time in the ring in about a year and a half.
Away, we'll be right back.
If it's for today.
Law program, community-led animal welfare. This unique free service provides everything from medicine to pet education to demonstrating simple ways to improve a dog's life.
Since ikhona ifike lapho umhlobo omkhulu kakhulu ngoba izinja ziphila kahle bezikade zisifa into ezinjalo kodwa khona ngoku ziphila kahle kakhulu.
Interested community members volunteer and become part of claw teams. And that's what this program is all about, community involvement. It's Cora's and IFAW's belief that healthy pets and their owners contribute to healthy communities. But in many disadvantaged areas, pets suffer from poverty the same way as their owners. Dogs can be vulnerable to malnourishment and disease, neglect, and abandonment. Adequate veterinary care is either unavailable or non-existent because of expense, distance, and lack of transportation.
So many animals suffer in the townships, not because of cruelty, but because people have nowhere to take them when they're ill, and people have been denied that basic education for such a long time. So we help people with doing primary health care for their animals and sterilization and education.
Cora confronts these desperate human conditions every day. But Claw's work is not just limited to pets. Claw also acts as a welfare service, bringing food, clothing, and transportation to residents.
Certainly our work isn't just animal welfare. It would be completely absurd to treat someone's pets. You know, when you have a child coming to you with a dog that's clearly starving. You go home to find out what the situation is there, and you find that the child is the...
Okay, let's see. This is dog training, health, nutrition, behavior, and
I'm
grooming.
the caregiver in the home. Sometimes a child as old as 12 is looking after a household. And that, you couldn't then admonish him for his dog being a little too thin.
How many other scouts? Don't say that, Cheyenne. He can... Hey, you should donate football
I
lessons.
love Reba.
Hey, you know, that's a pretty good idea.
You know, Mom, you're pretty good at this auction stuff. Man, what happened to your finger?
My finger got caught in Mike Garcia's face mask. Yeah.
Oh, be still my heart. They got her best.
Follow us on Facebook at Dogtails TV. Dogtails, Family Edition. America's premier dog lovers magazine show. All the latest news from the dog world. Right now on this edition of Dogtails, Family Edition. Meet the Estridge family from Las Vegas, Nevada, proud owners of a golden retriever named Bailey.
We got Bailey 6 years ago, and he was about 9 months old when we got him, and we got him from the Golden Retriever Rescue.
I told him I was just going to go see him. We're not really going to get him, but I knew really when I went in the car to just go see him, toting a full set of blankets in the back, that there was probably a good chance of ever really getting him. And I got him, and I picked him up at the home of someone else who works for the rescue, and he just came bounding out, and that was it. I was in love, brought him in the car, and I actually didn't tell the kids, and showed up to pick them up from school with Bailey, and they were just, he was in the back of the car, and they got in the car, and they were beside themselves. It was awesome. I never met a golden that wasn't, great with kids. It just seems to be part of the breed, and he is no exception, and everybody meets him loves him.
Just having Bailey around is just amazing. His energy he gives off is just extraordinary, and I just love him. He's like a second brother almost. He runs around and plays with his toys all the time, and he's always wanting food, so he always stands near the pantry waiting for food.
He gets a little skittish at times, so if he hears a loud noise, he'll kind of scatter and go do something that's usually detrimental to somebody's house. A couple of friends that we visited, one time we were going out into their backyard, and Bailey didn't wait for us to open up their screen door, and he basically walked right through the screen door and knocked the whole thing over.
One time we went to visit some people in San Diego. We were all sitting out by the pool, and I was sitting out by the pool with Bailey because the owner of the house was somewhat allergic to dogs. Bailey decided that something freaked him out. He went running, and the chair was attached to him. And he ran out to people's yard, and he knocked over 2 kerosene lamps. He went on a bit of a tear through the front of the house and kind of destroyed a few things. And then finally, the chair got caught in the bush, and that was the end of the chase. But it was quite comical, actually.
in the back of the car. So she's like so surprised, she looks up and Bailey's just drooling on her. We were all laughing hysterically.
He's a true retriever. He does retrieve. You throw anything, he goes and gets it and brings it back.
Actually, literally love to run and retrieve whatever it is you throw and bring it back to you so you can throw it again. It's quite fun.
He's so lovable and cuddly, and he'd never try to hurt anyone, and he's like the best dog ever.
Bailey's a very important member of our family. He's an extension of our family. He's like one more kid. We love him. He travels with us. We do everything with him.
Bailey brings an incredible amount of happiness into the house, and to me, absolutely personally, he's my buddy. He is attached to me at every second. He's a real special part of the family.
We make him feel like everybody else, and we make him feel like part of the family.
He always gives us like the warmest greeting, and he's always so excited to see us.
He is absolutely a member of the family in every way possible. I know people who don't like dogs at all, and they come to our house, and they love him.
He's great with the kids. They really enjoy him. He's part of our family.
He like cuddles up next to me and comforts me, and it makes me feel good.
Oh, that could be.
Our thanks to the Esrick family for inviting us to their home and sharing their dog tales. Next up.
You spent so much.
What?
Dachshund.
I'm embarrassed.
Family.
Realized you know what stage of life you're in by the number of walls your bed touches.
Now that you've spent so much time at home, maybe it's time to find a new one. Realtor.com.
Family edition.
These are very little dogs. Chihuahuas, I guess.
Special dog. Everybody loves me. I'm a bundle of joy with a pedigree.
Dachshunds are so much fun. They have these.
Oh, they're not Chihuahuas, they're Dachshunds. I knew they, but Chihuahuas are small dogs. Dachshunds are small dogs too. Talking about 8 pounds, 10 pounds.
I have two very small, very cute, very athletic, very funny, short-haired dogs. One is very bright, very picky, very nervous, high-strung, watches TV, but also very security conscious. She's in charge of the security for the whole of Beverly Hills. She watches everything on the streets. She runs out of the house in the backyard and goes to all the corners of the yard barking. She's really in charge of security. My other dog, Sophie, is in charge of fun. She waits until Lou runs out barking, and then she slowly goes out behind Lou to make sure that everything is fine. She's just a love bug. When people come over, they ring the doorbell. Lulu and Sophie dash to the door, barking
welcoming everybody. It's not that they want to scare people, they love it when people come over. They're very social dogs. They love being around when there's a party. They love being right involved, sitting on everybody's lap. They're very social, wonderful dogs. Dachshunds are supposedly don't like little children so much, but my dachshund Lulu loves little children, especially little girls. You know, I always tell children to get down and sit down on the floor with them and be quiet with them. If they come too quickly at them, they get scared because they're small, and then they'll bark at the children. But if they're quiet and calm, then the dogs love them. There's 3 types of dachshunds: the wire-haired, the smooth, and the long-haired. Sophie and Lulu are short-haired. They don't need any grooming. I throw them in the sink and I wash them about every 3 weeks. They're perfect. They love to travel on the airplane. They're great travelers. They will stay in their little hand carry, because I can take them inside the plane because they're very small. And they will not say one word, not one peep. Oh, my God. I take them on the plane with me because they're small and they'll fit in the carriers that can go right under the seat, and they are perfect. They don't say not one peep. There could be another dog on the plane right next to them, even though my Lulu, the one in charge of security, would normally bark. On the plane, not one word. They're on perfect behavior. Matter of fact, I take them everywhere I go. I take them shopping. In fact, they're great shoppers, especially in the shoe department. Lulu loves shoes. I take them to Saks, to Neiman's. They go with me all day long. Normally, I walk with them. I walk from my home into the stores, and everybody knows them. All the shopkeepers. They don't know me, but they know Sophie and Lulu. I try very hard not to overfeed my dachshunds because they love food, and for their little bodies, you want to keep them fit and strong. So I walk them a lot because I like to walk, and I try not to overfeed them so that they are not fat. They are very healthy. They've never had back problems, and they're just a wonderful companion. They love to sleep with us, and they love to burrow under the covers. They are always under the covers, and one of them, Lulu, gets on a pillow and stays in that one position the entire night. But under the covers, on a pillow.
Thanks for using Locast.org, the nonprofit that makes local over-the-air broadcast available to everyone. Just $5 each month covers the cost of delivering your local broadcast channels. Please help Locast by becoming a member today.
On her pillow. Sophia is more down by my knee, behind my knee, and she'll move around during the night, but always under the covers. They love to cuddle and be under the covers. I would recommend dachshunds for almost any family, unless they want an outdoor dog, of course, or a big dog for tough boys to romp with. Then maybe a dachshund isn't a dog.
Dog training, health, nutrition, behavior.
They're wonderful for a couple, without children also, because they become like your babies. I take them with me to the restaurants. I take them with me shopping. I take them with me on the airplane. They truly make our life so happy.
Breed, Dachshund, country of origin, Germany, temperament, lively. Additional comments, good for apartment living, okay with other pets, also called wiener or hot dog.
Everybody loves me.
Bailey. We'll be right back.
You could get Bailey. Why more people?
We'll talk about victory.
Was a serious.
These pooches come from Canine Partners for Life, a nonprofit organization dedicated to training service dogs and placing them with people who are physically disabled.
My life before Dewey was a series of falling all the time. I lost my independence. The doctors were talking wheelchair because I'd fallen so much. And in the 5 years that we've been together, life has just been sweet. Just sweet with Dewey.
As a family, we really struggled. We went up and down with issues constantly of disability and of depression. And since Camper has come to be with us, he's really become a member of the family. And I really think it's given Jim a new sense of confidence, and it certainly has given me a new sense of confidence.
Since its founding in 1989, Canine Partners for Life has placed hundreds of dogs across the United States, assisting individuals with all types of physical disabilities, including multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, Parkinson's disease, arthritis, and cerebral palsy.
Before Kia, if I dropped something, I usually had to figure out how I was going to pick it up myself, or I'd have to wait for someone to come home or be free to come pick things up. Now I don't have to wait. Kia can help me. I feel more capable since having her. Before Kia, I was reluctant just to go out and just go places by myself around town. Now Kia and I go for a walk every day. She is such a part of me. I couldn't imagine life without her.
Canine Partners for Life trains various levels of assistance dogs. Foremost, we train service dogs for people who have mobility impairments. And a subcategory of that would be our seizure alert dogs. These dogs have a natural instinct to detect people's seizures prior to the seizure happening. Canine Partners for Life customizes the skills of each particular dog to match the recipient's needs.
Cody and Corbin, the relationship is just actually miraculous. Cody carries his lunch for him. He can retrieve and pick up things for him. Myron and Maximo have a great working relationship. Maximo helps him if he falls down, get up, brings Walker to him, turn in papers. He helps him take things off. If they need something, instead of yelling through the house, they just send their dog for me, which is kind of nice.
Dewey's basic job is balance, keeping me on my feet, and going up and down steps. He will take my braces, bring them to me, and bring my shoes to me to put on. I haven't taught him yet how to wash dishes and iron, but we'll get there. He will get the phone for me, and when I forget my keys, he goes and gets them for me. He will also help with the laundry, put the laundry basket down the hall for me if I need him. Dewey also will carry groceries in from the car.
Before we had the dogs, my children had reached a point that they were becoming very frustrated with their limitations. After the dogs, it gave them a sense of control over their own environment, their own little worlds.
He's a really great support dog, and he's just strong and substantial in every sense of the word.
Training these special dogs foster homes to learn socialization. Then go for up to a year's worth of formal training before finally being teamed with a future owner. That owner also comes to CPL's Eastern Pennsylvania headquarters for training with his or her new friend.
It takes a very special dog to be a service dog. It has to be a bright dog, a social dog, and highly intelligent, obviously. It should be a dog that loves to retrieve and that has an internal work ethic that all of us need in order to do our jobs successfully. We use golden retrievers, standard poodles, and mixed breeds, but Labradors make up the bulk of the dogs we use. They're a working breed. They're dogs that love to work and be active, and they're viewed positively by the public. Most of our dogs are donated by area breeders. Some come from the animal shelters, and we also have a small Labrador breeding program to ensure we have enough quality dogs each year to meet the need. We change lives.
We take away fear and open up possibilities. We give people a chance to say, I can, instead of I can't. We give them a chance to do things for themselves without having to ask someone else to do it for them every time they need some small amount of assistance. We give them a partner to help them do it all.
When I graduated from Canine Partners, I had a goal of going and walking on the beach, down by the water, in the sand, and I hadn't been able to do that for 15 years. 4 months after we graduated, we went down to the beach and walked on the sand next to the water's edge at a place appropriately called Dewey Beach.
Canine Partners for Life relies on donations and the goodwill of many compassionate individuals to help make their work possible. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
That you could, my wife, 7-3.
National Fund for Animal Welfare, this clinic moves all over one of the world's biggest cities, educating individuals about the need for the responsible care of companion animals, as well as training new veterinarians. A clinical coordinator and IFA vet checks this newly arrived dog, looking for ticks, taking the dog's temperature, and discussing basic care with its owner.
La edad del perro, qué procedimientos es lo que se les está haciendo. Entonces se les pregunta, se les hace una historia clínica.
She says that they make sure all the animals are properly registered, get their clinical history, and help if they have diseases or injuries. More people arrive with dogs, and examinations continue. There is no cost for treatment, including spaying and neutering. That's because this clinic is also a training facility, offering vital experience for those men and women who want to become vets, a key component in this program. Future veterinarians are rotated in and out of the clinic, producing many new vets for Mexico each year. UNAM
just walked away. Chris. Really didn't need it. And
Nebraska Furniture Mart has but you
Step out of the car, please.
First responders jump into action. Rescue 911 next.
program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened.
When a life is threatened, every heartbeat and each passing moment becomes more and more precious. I'm William Shatner. Tonight, true stories of compassion and determination on Rescue 911. We begin on a cold day in March of 1988 as members of the Cache County Water Rescue Team were making their way out into a frozen lake in a remote area outside Logan, Utah.
We had been diving earlier in the winter. We're kind of working on ice diving certification. And it was kind of a nice day, so we figured we'd head over to Bear Lake and try to get a dive in.
Right here. This looks pretty good. Let's clear out some of the snow.
The ice was about 18 inches thick, and so we had to take a chainsaw.
Joe Young, a certified instructor, was teaching the others to ice dive, including Lynn Nelson, who'd never dived under ice before.
Ice
I
dive
was fairly new at diving.
An
Put
ice
in a
diver
little over 50
runs
dives
out of
that year.
there, trauma
I didn't think it'd be
center
anything
fights
too
to
unusual.
save stabbing.
We have had some people die ice diving. We had, in fact, they were two scuba instructors, and they got caught under the ice and panicked and drowned. When you dive in 36-degree water, which is what the water was over at Bear Lake that day, it slows everything down so that your reactions aren't as fast. You don't think as fast and as clear and what you normally would. You can only stay under for about 10 to 15 minutes without the hypothermia setting in.
We secured a rope to a buoy that was frozen in the water right next to the hole.
Since Lynn had never been under, we decided to let him go first with Joe. And so we tied the safety line to Lynn. Joe had decided he wasn't going to be hooked up. He had said that he would stick close to Lynn. I mean, we had all the confidence in the world in Joe.
Joe's wife, Kayleen, and the others stayed on the surface as safety divers.
The visibility down there was about 5 or 6 feet in front of us. The agreement when we jumped into the water was that I would have the rope tied to me and Joe would swim right next to me, and we'd be within arm's reach of each other at all times.
If they had any problems whatsoever, you're supposed to pull 3 times. And at that point, we will start pulling
This
that
was
line
on
back
at
in.
7 a.m. Saturday morning.
Now we're about 50 feet out now.
We were about 150 feet, I would guess, away from the hole. You could see the rope go back and disappear, but you couldn't tell that there was a hole there. next thing I saw was Joe right in front of me, and his eyes were just bulged out. He grabbed the regulator out of my mouth. What made matters worse at that point was, for some reason, our buoyancy changed between the two of us, and I don't remember who went which direction, but we separated one above the other. And I thought, you know, this is not going to work. I need air. I needed a breath. And now he's got my regulator, and I remember grabbing him and pulling us back together so we were face to face again. We started buddy breathing back and forth. At that point, my thought was, where's the hole? So I picked up the rope and started pulling it in to pull it tight.
When the line started pulling taut, I thought maybe it was wrapped around an obstacle or something. It just felt different. It didn't feel right, but it wasn't the 3 quick pulls.
Once the rope got tight, Joe got my octopus, which is a spare regulator, and started breathing on that. I remember pulling the rope in, because I thought, we pull it tight, I can pull hand over hand on the rope plus swim, and we'll be able to go straight to the hole. I look over at Joe, and he don't have a regulator in his mouth. He's going to hold his breath till we get there, and it's a long ways. I knew Joe was in trouble, and I knew if I didn't make it back to that hole, that we were going to die.
When we continue,
I was swimming really hard at that point, and the legs were
My side.
Children need to be made aware so they can be safe. Just or visit lifelock.com/25gift. Use promo code 25gift to save 25% off your first year and get a free tile key finder with your annual membership. Call right now. We can empower kids to stop violence. Here's some things you should teach them to do. When you get into an argument, they should settle it with words and not with fists, and certainly not with weapons. They should stick with friends who are also against violence and stay away from the known trouble spots. Kids must trust their feelings. If they sense danger, they should get away fast. Children need to be made aware so they can be safe.
When Joe Young's main regulator and backup both stopped working while ice diving, he became trapped without oxygen below an 18-inch thick layer of ice. To get help, his friend and diving partner, Lynn Nelson, was trying to make his way back to the hole they'd cut in the ice, but it was more than 100 feet away.
I was swimming really hard at that point, and I didn't know why it was so hard. I was pulling hand over hand, and my legs were hurting. I didn't know at that time I was dragging him through the water.
I had the end of the line, and we were getting ready to tie another line to it. Next thing we know, I mean, a big old air bubble just popped right through the hole in the ice. Lynn popped up, and we thought he was in trouble. A few seconds later, Joe just kind of bobbed to the surface.
His eyes were wide open and his pupils were fixed and dilated. He wasn't there. I just thought to myself, I thought, oh my God, he's dead. I've recovered enough dead bodies. I know what a dead body looks like, and he was dead.
She just turned to me and said, Dan, go up, get your radio, try to get help.
I took charge. I took care of my husband. It's the first time I've ever done CPR on anybody. You know, I have to certify every year for my job, but when you do it in real life, and I just wanted to get him breathing, and I didn't tilt his head back, and I didn't plug his nose, and I wasn't getting any air into his lungs. I was getting frustrated and mad, and he had a hood on, and I just grabbed a hold of it and I yanked it off as hard as I could. Everybody thinks that I just ripped it off so violently that I tilted his head back and opened his airway. I could see that I was getting air into his chest, and that's when he acted like he was going to throw up in my mouth.
Kayleen gave him a few more breaths, and then he started coming a little more around. Then he just laid there and started moaning and stuff.
He started making this awful noise, like somebody had hit him in the stomach and he lost his breath.
Are you okay?
We were still going, Joe, are you okay? He just laid there on the ice and made this noise.
Come on, guys, we need to get into the hospital. This spins off.
Yeah. About that time, I said, come on, guys, we've got to take him to the hospital.
After his near drowning, Joe Yonk was taken to the nearest hospital for examination. Doctors treated him for fluid in the lungs, which can be fatal. But after 3 days, he was released without any permanent damage. Three years later, the memories of what happened below the ice are still vivid for Joe.
I knew I could not swim back to the hole. I took those 2 breaths of air and they did absolutely nothing for me. I was still out of air. And the thought that came through my mind at the time was, if we try to buddy breathe, I knew that instead of just one not making it, both of us wouldn't make it. So at that point I thought, I'll tie the rope around my arm and they can drag me back in later. And at that point, that's the last I remember.
Joe later learned that all 4 of their regulators and backups had failed. The compressed air inside their tanks contained so much moisture that under the extreme cold, the regulators froze. Had they been using another type of regulator, specially designed for ice diving, it might never have happened.
You need to remember to check your equipment very carefully when you're ice diving because of the inherent problems. Make sure everything's working properly, that everything is just right, or you don't do the dive.
Looks like they're sledding.
I really love Joe, and I know how much he means to me, and I know that without him here, life just wouldn't be the same.
We're much closer than we were before. I think that type of a situation naturally brings you a lot closer. I think it makes you appreciate each other a lot more. Makes you feel more of a bond, I think, than what there was before. Right, Derek?
Next.
The trauma room is organized chaos. Everyone has a job to do, kind of like a pit crew.
That's it. There's nothing routine about saving lives. Each crisis poses its own unique set of problems. This story is not a recreation. It's one case that faced an emergency room team at the University Hospital Trauma Center in Newark, New Jersey on the night of February 24th, 1991.
The trauma room is organized chaos. Everyone has a job to do, kind of like a pit crew. You take one piece and everyone gets a tire, and it's kind of the medical equivalent.
8:27 p.m., a severely wounded young man is helped into the emergency room. Dr. Carmela Sophia assesses the victim's injury, while the 2 young women who brought him in wait outside.
He was stabbed in the back.
What's your name? Take a deep breath. Come on, take a deep breath. Come on, inhale.
Right away, you listen to his lungs to see if you hear decreased breath sounds on the side he was stabbed. His breathing wasn't as deep as it should have been.
Any size.
Assistant head nurse Mary Beth Ladd is also on duty.
Come on, honey, roll over.
I kept giving him directions to try and get him up on a stretcher and sit up in the bed.
What happened? Tell me what happened. I know it hurts, but you gotta listen to everything
Then the officer finally stopped me and said, no, he's unable to speak. Then I realized that he was deaf and wasn't able to speak on his own.
You read lips, though. You read lips. How big of a night?
Do you know how much went in?
He hit you hard.
He hit him hard with the knife.
You're gonna be okay. No, honey, you're not gonna. You're not gonna. You're gonna be okay. Listen to me. Listen to me. Come on. Listen to me. Listen. You're gonna be okay. All right, you're gonna be fine. Okay?
That makes my heart go out to somebody. It makes me want to stay there even more and hold his hand and keep telling him, I know you're not going to die. You just have to hang in there. You have to believe me.
Where were you? At home?
Your girlfriend's house.
Girlfriend's house? Who's Carrie? Carrie? Carrie. In your wallet. Carrie. Who is that? Your ex-girlfriend. We're not calling her.
Once the victim is stabilized, his hearing-impaired girlfriend and her sister, who were waiting outside, are brought in to help the trauma team communicate.
Okay, has he ever taken any medicine that's made him sick? No medicine?
X-rays reveal 23-year-old Robert Young has suffered a collapsed lung.
Listen to me. They cut you open, cut you right here,
And then this goes in. And that helps you breathe. Okay? It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt.
I like patients to know what's going to happen to them, especially someone in his situation who can't communicate with us the way that he normally does. We're not going to understand his side.
You're gonna feel a needle. Needle. Now it'll be numb. Okay? Numb?
Okay.
You'll feel pressure. Okay? I'll tell you when.
Talk to him when you're doing this.
Okay. Tell me there's a lot of pressure.
Lots of pressure.
It's a very painful procedure, and you just don't know what's going to happen to you. You don't know the pain that you're going to feel. When they start pressing on your lung field, you feel like we're going to take your breath away. You don't feel like we're giving it back to you.
Do this. That's it. More. Upper rib.
Yep, I know that.
That's it. That's it. Good. Okay.
14.
That should be it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Mary Beth, let's give him a 5 or more.
Okay.
Once the procedure is complete, Robert's mother, Alice, is allowed to see him for the first time.
He was laying there with tubes coming from everywhere. I was just so horrified.
What's your first name?
Robert is moved to another room where police question him about the stabbing.
Then coming in. I know you want no coaching.
Yeah, he came up from behind, and he didn't know one was behind him.
He told me he wanted to talk with my girlfriend. She said she didn't want to see him, and he wouldn't listen to her or me.
You got a suspect in drinking?
Yes.
I didn't know he had a knife. While we were fighting, he stabbed me in the back.
Pistons, Detroit.
Later that evening, 16-year-old hospital volunteer Claude Smith visits Robert in recovery.
During the 2 years that I've been working here so far, this is the first time I ever had a deaf person come into the emergency room and had to help the person out.
Yeah.
One thing, yeah. It made me feel good to talk to him in sign language some and everything. I think that helped him a little more, make him feel a little better.
It was a good game. I watched the whole thing at break time, almost.
4 days later, Robert is given the news that he can go home.
The hospital's really good. They took care of me. They took care of it. Wow. And I really love them for it. And they love me too.
At the end of all of this, he seemed pretty happy. He was smiling at me when he left, so that felt good. I got a chance to apologize for yelling at him.
What a cute
My big baby.
I really like this hospital. But I really want to go home.
Within 6 weeks, Robert's collapsed lung completely healed.
I feel fine. I feel much better. Oh, we're happy.
He's a special child. He graduated from the State School for the Deaf here in New Jersey with honors, excelled in sports there, basketball, and now he plans to go on to college. I am very proud of him.
An arrest warrant for the suspect is outstanding.
I'm just so sad that this happened, but I think this is a good experience for him. I think that this is a good experience for the hospital too. It will help people at other trauma centers and the public be more aware of deaf people, hearing impaired people.
Why are so many people turning to Super Beats crystals? Because Super Beats crystal.
First responders jump into action. Rescue 911 next.
This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened.
We begin on the morning of February 2nd, 1991, along a stretch of road that winds through the rolling hills near Paso Robles, California.
Gordy and Jane Ortiz and their 2 teenage children were heading for their weekend place in Heritage Ranch.
The ground was still damp. It must have rained pretty well the night before. There was a car in front of us. It was a Jeep Wagoneer going the speed limit.
Bonnie Hogue, driving right behind the Ortizes, recognized the driver of the Jeep, 17-year-old Kim Potts.
I knew the car well. Kim was our babysitter.
It's a very beautiful drive. But when we get on this one particular road leading to the ranch, it's a very windy, narrow road.
This pickup just seemed to come out of nowhere. There was absolutely no way that it could have been avoided.
All the homes are back off accident unless somebody else comes by. You're out there alone.
The car was already starting to smoke inside. I tried once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and I couldn't get it open.
I felt helpless. I felt like I was losing one of my own children.
You could see flames coming from the other side of the hood.
Her window was down, but the steering wheel was crushed right on her lap. She was pinned in. I just wanted to help her so bad. I can remember vividly turning around to my daughter and my son, and I said, Tina, Gordy, start walking away. Take off, go. I didn't want them to see her burn to death.
When we continue,
It was obvious there was not much time left before the car was being totally engulfed. All I could think of is that I was going to watch that girl burn to death in front of my eyes.
First access, you'll get
attention cancer victims.
Go years before they're found. Here's one we really need to reunite. 5, 6, 7, 8. Please help bring Michael home.
The call for help was immediately relayed by the operator to the Heritage Ranch Volunteer Fire Department. Less than 2 miles down the road from the accident, Kim's parents, Michael and Carolyn Potts, were waiting for her to get home.
She called me from town, told me she was on her way, and I knew exactly how long it took. When the trucks came by, I immediately felt a pit in my stomach. I just knew something had happened to Kim.
Yeah, I would check what's going on. My wife gave me a look, and to make her feel better, I started down the road, expecting to have my daughter pass me at any time, and I would just ride home with her.
It's a type of scream I'll never, ever forget. And it was within seconds that the flames went nuts.
I run up to people and I'd ask them, do you have a fire extinguisher? And some people would reply and other people would just stare at me as if maybe I was speaking some other language.
Oh my God, do you have a fire extinguisher?
I needed help. I needed a miracle. God, I needed a miracle. And she was already starting to catch fire.
Every time I came back, it was almost as if it was a different person in there, from the long blonde hair to getting shorter and shorter, and before you saw a clear face, and then before you knew it, it's a red face, and it's just something that I'm never gonna forget.
Gary Busis was heading up to some property he owned in the area when he came upon the crash.
It was obvious there was not much time left before the car was being totally engulfed. All I could think of is that I was going to watch that girl burn to death in front of my eyes. By the time I got to the car, the passenger side of the car was engulfed in flames, but I could not lift her out through the window. I remember that I had a chain in my truck. At least I thought I had the chain in my truck. By the time I got back with the chain, the flames were vastly greater. The terror and torment that must have gone in that girl's mind. I had nightmares about that for weeks and weeks after that.
after I hit the victim of the car. The total car was engulfed in flames. The car burned entirely, even down to the tires.
She was so hot and just so smoldering. There was no water around.
I'm right here, honey. I'm not gonna leave you. I will not leave you.
She kept telling me that she loved me. Then she'd scream out in pain, tell me that it hurt.
I wanted her to live, but I didn't think it was going to happen.
Paramedic John Dunkel assessed Kim's condition at the scene.
The first thing I thought about is, God, this poor girl, what's going to happen to her life now? And the second thing I thought about is, this has got to be a parent's worst nightmare.
I could see a little smoke in the distance. So I rounded a curve and saw this dark Jeep sideways on the road and the ski racks. I knew it was our car.
You have a Kim Potts in there.
The driver said we have a Kim. I just felt my world fall apart.
Kim was airlifted to the burn unit at Sherman Oaks Community Hospital, 170 miles away, with third-degree burns over 35% of her body.
They told us the extent of her injuries and that they were life-threatening. It's just something we couldn't deal with.
Either my husband or myself were with her 24 hours. There were many times that I just hold on to her and just try to somehow make the pain come from her and go into me. It's so hard to watch it. One of the hardest things was to see Kim building up courage when she knew she was going to have to go through something like physical therapy.
She's always been shy and quiet. It was just amazing to watch. I was really surprised how strong and how determined she was. We were told she wouldn't walk for 12 to 18 months. And she was determined to walk for her graduation. That was her goal.
Dr. Michelle Bruns treated Kim at the burn center.
It was a miraculous cure. She was in our burn center just shy of 2 months. And there was a magical transformation
video, March
from really a
1991.
teenager to a full woman.
After weeks of painful skin grafts and physical therapy for her burnt limbs and shattered leg, Kim was able to leave the hospital. On June 13, 1991, just 4 months after the accident, Kim's class graduated from Paso Robles High School.
Thanks for using Locast. We're a nonprofit and need your help to keep operating. Especially now, during the coronavirus crisis, Americans need access to local broadcast stations. Please contribute $5 a month. Thank you.
I just want to tell everybody that helped in my rescue. I owe my life to everybody, and I'd do anything for them. But all you have to do is call me.
She's even told me that when she becomes a doctor, if I'm ever sick or anything happens to me, she's going to take care of me the rest of my life. But I told her she really should major in geriatrics, so I won't need a pediatrician.
The men and women who rescued Kim were honored for heroism by the California Highway Patrol. 1 year later, her family remains close to them.
Calling you?
When the situation got very dangerous, They didn't back off. They stayed in there. And they made a difference on this earth, and that's not all of us can say that.
Good things can definitely come out of new tragedies. Many good things.
She's rolling.
Next.
I realized that the call was a little bit more severe than what I thought it was because something was really panicking.
But dispatchers must be prepared.
Jackman.com, shop thousands of cars and see your real down payment all on your phone. Easy.
Not every call that comes into a 911 center is a matter of life and death, but dispatchers must be prepared to handle any type of emergency. At 8:32 a.m. on the morning of May 29th, 1991, in Douglasville, Georgia, dispatcher Tim Bridges picked up a little girl's call for help.
Emergency 911.
My baby's asleep and won't wake up.
Your baby is asleep and won't wake up.
My daddy.
Your daddy.
I have to go to school.
At first, I didn't think there really was a problem, except for her father just wouldn't get up and take her to school.
Are you on Parkway?
Yes, Parkway.
Okay, he won't wake up. Can you tell if he's breathing all right? What's your name?
He can't breathe and he'll wake up and he'll wake up and go back to sleep. He'll wake up, go back to sleep, and I have to go to school.
Okay, Holly.
My concern right then was to get somebody out there just to see what the problem was, if there was a problem.
Hey, Holly. Holly.
What?
You all right?
Yeah.
You're scared? You're scared?
I'm scared
Okay, you're afraid of ambulance? Okay. Yes, they are.
Right then, when she said ambulance, especially when Holly started crying, then I realized that the call was a little bit more severe than what I thought it was because something was really panicking her.
I was shaking and trying to wake him up, and I couldn't wake him up. I was afraid that something was wrong with him. He was sick.
Yeah, this is Sam, Holly over here. She says that her father keeps waking up and going back to sleep. I'm going to go ahead and get an ambulance and round. Okay, Holly.
She was scared. She was crying. She was upset.
How old are you? Nobody. He's what? He is breathing.
Paramedic Charles Brookshire kept in contact with the dispatchers.
They said that the person was going in and out of consciousness. You start to assess that in your mind. We weren't sure what could have been the problem. Could have been maybe even blood pressure that's created a stroke or something along those lines.
Nobody's there with you but your father, right? Okay. Hang on for me, okay, Holly? I'm going to get somebody to come down there and look at it for you, okay? Just going to be one deputy at first, okay? Holly, all right.
Holly. My name is Kathy. Uh-huh. Okay, well, it'll be okay.
Dispatcher Kathy Omby had been monitoring the call.
My concern was that I needed to calm Holly down.
Okay, Holly. Okay. What we're going to do is the sheriff's department's going to send an officer out, but we're also going to send an ambulance out in case he's sick, okay? Please, you'll be able to take me to school because I have to go to school. Okay, well, we'll just have to wait and see what they say, okay? I said I have to go to school, but I was scared that the teacher would get mad.
I kept trying to compliment her for doing such a good thing, especially for a 5-year-old to pick up a phone and call 911.
Holly, I'm still here. I have a 911 I could come, but I can't come. I've got to stay, I've got to stay here and answer the phone for somebody else. I said, another little girl might need me, just like you did.
When she told me that she had wanted me to come out, that got to me. And it, you know, it still bothers me every time I hear the call, because I knew that she was scared.
I told her I was scared of ambulances. I'm scared of the siren.
What I was going to do was to have them turn their sirens off before they got close to her house, so it wouldn't frighten her even more.
When she told us that the fire trucks were there, a sigh of relief came to me.
All right, just go on out there and talk to him, okay?
Okay, one of them's name is James Jones. Tell you to speak to James.
I wanted to give her someone that she could relate to on a personal basis. I knew that there was somebody there that could help her now.
She wanted to know was I James, and it sort of startled me. How'd this little girl get my name, you know, first of all? And I said, sure, I'm James. And I decided to take her in the house because she didn't need to see her dad in that kind of shape.
You okay? Did you wake up? Hey, wake up. Talk to me now.
He was unconscious, responsive only to painful stimuli. He reacted to us, he sat up and then began to speak to us, but he was thoroughly confused. He had no idea what day it was or where he was at. And then shortly after, he went to unconsciousness again.
You had any kind of, we had to get some information from Holly, because Holly was our only link to what was wrong with her dad. I asked Holly, had her dad been sick, and she said no. Any kind of medication?
They asked me if he took some kind of medicine.
Rick, she's gonna come in there.
I showed him where the medicine was in the refrigerator.
Your refrigerator's your bed? Thank you.
Charles? Yeah. Oh, good.
Once we found the insulin, it confirmed to me that he was an insulin-dependent diabetic and that he was hypoglycemic, headed for severe insulin shock. Holly saved her dad's life, there's no question. If Holly had not called, he probably would have gone to zero, and that could end up in death.
Dan Exum was treated at Douglas General Hospital and released later that same morning.
You going to school? What are you going to do? You going to roller skating today? When's the next time you're going?
My brother Denny's a single parent, has been raising Holly on his own for a couple of years now.
Train your brains.
Gets Holly up in the morning, gets ready for school, works a full-time job, has all the duties of mom and dad.
Dan is grateful that his daughter Holly knew what to do in an emergency.
I was really surprised. I was proud of her because it's just her and I, and she's the only one that was here to help me. If it hadn't been for her, I don't know what would happen or where I'd be.
Parents should teach their kids to use 911 when it's an emergency and not to play on the phone and make the prank calls.
Easy. All right, that's great.
I called 911 by myself. I felt like they were going to take care of my dad.
She's a great little girl. I love her.
Excellent. Okay, Mr. Librarian. What kind of fancy books will get you out of this one?
Houdini wrote books too.
You, Carson. I got about 2 minutes before I'm in a full-blown hallucination, so we gotta get you out of here.
I've just deciphered it. Monkeys.
There's no time for
You did? Yes. What language is it this time? Is it French? Oudon?
Non-talking makes reference to the Premiere cipher here.
I'll find numerical transposition. M, E, A, L, I.
How many combinations?
10 characters. Factor of 10. You divide by 4, which is the repeated characters. 907,200. It's like Luminate. 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 Tap, 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 tap.
Illuminate what?
Wait a minute. Tarnish on this coin. Silver oxidizes. It doesn't corrode like this.
I was so preoccupied with the writing, I never examined the coin itself.
It's glass. This isn't a coin. This is a lens.
Good news. AccuWeather is now on Philo TV. I'm about to end this live stream in about 2 minutes. Because I started it at 7:45. Alright, the Golden Girls are on. I love to watch the Golden Girls. I have that set on my DVR to take that. And I also have Young Sheldon taped on my DVR. I like to watch the first 48. I take that on my DVR, and Deadly Women, Teen Mom. For more Rescue 911 videos, animal rescue videos, hit the big red button and subscribe. And if you like this video, smash the like button. Okay, it's 11. I'm going to end this live stream now.